So I am Dawn Butler. I'm the Member of Parliament for Brent Central, and I'm the Shadow Secretary of State for Women and Equalities. So I do, obviously, my role is about equality. And as I've been working over the last few years, and I've been wondering why, where we've got kind of targets in regards to women and equality, etc., and why progress has been slow. And it got me thinking about, and it was a year ago this week, I went to America and I was interviewed by Shonda Rhimes' people. You know Shonda Rhimes, Scandal, Grey's Anatomy. I love Grey's. Anyone watch Grey's Anatomy? Love Grey's, great writing. Anyway, so Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, so Shonda Rhimes. And I talked about the career ladder. So I started thinking about climbing this career ladder and why so few women are at the top often. And then I thought, well, the problem is the actual ladder. So when we talk about this career ladder and the construct, the construct of a career ladder, it's designed for one person to get to the top. So often in an organization, when we talk about diversity, it's almost like a tick box. They'll be like, well, we've got a woman, we've got a black person, we've got an LGBT plus, we're done. Tick. We're done. Yeah? And sometimes when that person's got to the top, they've kicked the ladder away because they think it's better that there's only one because they're safer. When actually what you need is more around the table. And we do know that companies that have diversity at the top on average make 15% more than companies that don't have diversity at the top. So diversity pays. So before we used to talk about hearts and minds, the right thing to do, we've got legislation, we've got the Equality Act, but actually we're making progress by talking about the bottom line. If you want to make money, you need to have more diversity at the top. So I started thinking about this career ladder and I said, what we haven't done is lay foundations for more people to get to the top, because let me know if I lose you at any stage. Just put your hand up and let me know if I've lost you and say. So I talk to people about their journey, and some people fight really hard at each rung of this ladder to try and get to the top. They put in extra hours, they work hard, and somehow they don't progress. Some people, I don't know if you've heard the term accidental managers, make it to the top and people think, how the hell did that person get there? Do you mean I can do that job better than them? How did they make it there? You know, what is it? Why did they make it to the top? You know, and they've not had to worry about each rung of this ladder. And some people, especially women, sometimes don't even attempt to climb the ladder. Sometimes they have to climb down if they're having children, family, if they've got caring responsibility, all of this. So the accidental managers, by the way, they get there in a certain way, and I'm going to come to that. And so I think what we have to do is lay foundations for an escalator so that you don't have to worry about each rung of the ladder, about pleasing different people to get further and further up if that's where you want to go. It should be that we have a system that's clear and transparent. So that's why I give you an example. The gender pay gap. So we know the gender pay gap, women on average earn 18% less than men. So what we're saying is, as a Labour Party, what we want organisations and companies to do is to make sure that they have a transparent system where everybody can see the pay structure so you know how much you're being paid. And so the organisations have to have clear action plans to how they're going to work to close that pay gap. So once you've got clear action plans, it means that everybody has more of a fairer chance to rise up. That's how we're laying the foundations for an escalator. That's where we're dismantling the structural inequality barriers. Okay? Are you still with me? Whew. So for instance, when you're on an escalator, right, it's very easy to understand the rules quite clearly. Right? If you're standing on the wrong side of an escalator, somebody's going to tell you about it, right? So in Singapore, for instance, you stand on the left. But you know, in the UK, we stand on the right. So when I went to Singapore, I was standing on the right. And people soon told me to move to the left, to the left, to the left. I didn't mind that. So you soon understand the rules because it's transparent, because it's easy to see. People are standing on one side and people walking up the next side. You soon get the hang of it because people start pushing past you. So that's what accountability, that's what action plans will do in organizations. They will make it more transparent so people will be able to get to the top much more quickly. Now, you know, I mentioned accidental managers. I'm sure some of you have met some. Anybody met an accidental manager? Anybody has an accidental manager? Okay. So they got there, often, not always, I am generalizing here in this, often by privilege, often by who they know. This is very much real in politics, who they know, who they're friends with, and who gave them the access code to the lift. So they didn't have to even worry about being on an escalator. They went straight to the lift, pressed a button, and they're at the top. And so what I'm saying is if we want to change the social structural barriers in society to make it more equal, we have to lay foundations for transparency so people can rise to the top.
I used to be in a large law firm. I don't really understand how, and I'm not opposed to transparency on earnings, but I don't really understand how transparency on earnings translates to enhanced opportunity.
Because often what happens is people get paid different rates for doing the same job, right? So even the BBC this week, there's a woman that decided that she wasn't going to take the job because it was £12,000 less than a man who's starting the job at the same time doing the same job. So if you have transparency, then organizations have to think very carefully about who they promote, how much they get paid, etc. So they can no longer pay somebody a lot of money for not doing a job. Because often you'll find that somebody's doing the job of somebody else who's being paid for the job that they're doing. Anybody in that position? Yeah? You find yourself doing the job and somebody else is taking credit for it and also getting paid for it. So once things become transparent, you can measure it, you can identify it, and then where necessary, you can work to change it. So once organizations stop sweeping things under the carpet, then things will start to become more equal.
My impression is that we've headed in the opposite direction to the one that you're talking about, and we're starting from a lower base. And I'm particularly concerned about how technology makes things less transparent. So I'm thinking, for example, just the strap line for LinkedIn is it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, I mean, that is true in all professions in a way, but in regards to technology, actually, it's what you know, if you're able to do the job. So often you do find in the tech sector, it is what you know. But so if you know how to program really well, for instance, you can program. If you can program, and you often get paid the right rate for the job. So it's one of those industries where the pay disparity isn't as stark often. But I don't think technology will stops people from being more transparent or from making sure that people are paid fairly or paid a great rate for the role. Is that what you meant when you mentioned technology?
I suppose the main concern is technology doesn't help transparency.
Because it can be hidden.
Yeah.
Whether it's Huawei, a lot could be hidden. But no, not really. I don't think so. I wouldn't say I totally agree with that. But the point is transparency is key. We've got to stop organizations from hiding things or paying people through the back door or creating bonuses where it doesn't really exist just so they can pay somebody more money because of who they know.
For more debates, talks and interviews, subscribe today to the Institute of Art and Ideas at IAI TV.